A very good evening to all of you. Thank you, LXMI, for inviting me here and being such gracious hosts. And so when I was flying down from Indore, my husband thought it was a nice opportunity to take off from home and, do his work as well. And he said, okay, I'll listen to you. And I had to, according to them, I had to politely, or not so politely, decline his request. So sorry. No men in the audience. They really, it's really for women who mean business. And I truly felt empowered to decline that request. So it's a pleasure to be here. Today I'm here to share my perspectives on fundraising. The downside of speaking so late in the evening is that much of what I wanted to speak has already been spoken. And the other downside, of course, is I think that the audience is a little exhausted, but I'll try to make it as interesting as possible. So instead of sharing so much of information that is already out there, as co-founders, we are consuming content every minute of the day, online and through such seminars. So I'll not share and not repeat what is out there. I'll share my journey with you. So before we get into the intricacies, I'd just like to say that we are talking about fundraising for startups. And startup is a term which is trending these days, and it is loosely used for anything and everything. But there's some key features of a startup, So would any of you give me some key words which a startup can be identified with? Yeah, that is definitely a key feature. No money, and I think you're begging for money. New idea is a must. Innovative idea is a key feature, right? Hustling comes apart, it comes with it, along with it. Lean team, yes, and a disruptor, yes, same thing as innovation. You are building something new. And of course, the biggest thing which we miss out is what Rajesh has already spoken about, is scalability, aided with technology. So fundraising will only be relevant to you if you are scalable. If you are on the path of growth, you will have enough and more revenue to set off your expenses. But if you're looking on a scalability path, then of course you need fundraising. So with that, let me briefly introduce you to Medyseva. Medyseva is a health tech startup which bridges the gap between patients and doctors through telemedicine. So we started in rural areas where we have kiosks where patients can come in, consult urban doctors without having to spend a lot of time and money in traveling. We are now also entering into urban areas where we have small centers in, say, colleges and universities, hostels, where outstation students who are lost, when they fall ill, where to go, and who is the right person, and what's the right place to go to. So they can come to our centers and have an online consultation with doctors. And there are various allied services, hospitalization, pharmacy, etc., that come along with it. So the idea of Medyseva was born during the COVID lockdown. So my husband, Dr. Rachita Kasliwal, he is the co-founder of Medyseva. And he was giving consultation to friends and family. At that time, you didn't know what to do, whom to go to, whom to trust. There was a lot of panic all around. So family and friends, when there's a doctor, at every party, you are giving free consultation tips and everything. So we were getting a lot of calls. And then friends of friends, acquaintances, distant relatives. So we got one such call from an uncle of a friend who was living in a village and got to realize how poor is the state of the healthcare infrastructure in our country, in these remote areas. So that's where how we got into it and the idea was born. We shared the idea with some of our friends, um, someone an engineer, someone in IT, and they also got interested. They were on board with us. They came in as partners, as co-founders, investors. They got in their skills. We refined the idea. So essentially, bootstrapping was our beginning. Now, all this while after that, we were actively filling up forms. Forms for competitions, form business plan competitions, and pitching events, etc. And during one such event, we stumbled upon an organization called CII-ECO. Now, we heard that there are some investors who are coming in for funding early startups. So we went there and we gave our pitch, which was decent enough, okay. And they really liked our idea and they called us to register them as for their accelerator program. Now, incubation and acceleration and all this thing, it was absolutely Greek to us. When you're starting your startup journey, as Sarita already said, this is a language we want to stay away from. But we got to know that CIACO is an innovation wing of IIM Ahmedabad. They are promoting startups and innovation. So that's how we got, first, we registered ourselves as a startup, got ourselves incubated with them, and registered for the accelerator program. That was a pivotal moment for us, though it seems like a very small thing to do, but the guidance we got from there, the pitching events, and how to design your pitch, how to go about it, the connections you get, potential investors, etc. That was really helpful. So through that Ahmedabad CIE Eco, then we got to connected to AIC. Now AIC is Atal Incubation Center. These are centers, of government. So from there, they have the Startup India Seed Fund Scheme. Any of you heard about it? Yeah? Yeah, so for the earliest stage startups, where you need money to even build your first prototype, you need money for R&D. For that kind of funding, you can go for the Startup India Seed Fund Scheme. It's great. So that's how we started, and we raised about 35 lakhs from there. So that helped us build our first 2 kiosks, and that was our center, and we got our basic technology in place. From AIC, we got the HDFC Parivartan grant. Now these corporates, they also now getting into startup funding under their CSR umbrella. So as corporate social responsibility, this HDFC had their Parivartan scheme, and we got the grant. Now, grant is very useful because you're not diluting your equity. It's a grant. So there are many sector-specific grants, something which is relevant to your sector. There are various grants by the state government also. Many state government have different policies for promoting startups. So you can find out something that is relevant in your, and prevalent in your state. That is another way to raise money. Now there is a very good avenue. It is called Nidhi. Uh, it is a national initiative for developing and harnessing innovations. They have an resident in EIR program, okay, entrepreneur in residence. So what happens is when they realize that entrepreneurs have left their high-paying jobs and they are coming into entrepreneurship, taking a lot of risk. So you need to compensate the entrepreneur. So all the funding which you're raising till now, anything from angel investors, anything from all these, even the schemes, that's for the startup. But this Nidhi EIR is not for the startup, it is for the entrepreneur. So for 1 year, they gave you a salary or a stipend of 30,000 rupees a month because you need to be compensated, because you have taken that leap and you need to be promoted. So that is for you personally. Right? So that was a big boon for us in the first year, So if you don't have an alternate plan or something is not working out, you have that support to go on, at least for the first year. But the major breakthrough came from Medyseva in the form of Horses Stable. Have any of you heard of it? No. Horses Stable is a show like Shark Tank, very similar, but it is much older than Shark Tank. But since it's not so glamorous and it was not on Star or Sony, so people didn't hear of it earlier. But yeah, in the fourth season, we featured on the Horses Stable, and it was aired on Aaj Tak. We raised over rupees 1 crore from Horses Stable, and there were five. Now, unlike Shark Tank, who the investors in Shark Tank are entrepreneurs themselves. But in Horses Stable, they are angel investors and VCs. Okay, so they all five of the investors on the panel got on board, along with Mr. Vivek Bindra, who was just a mentor on the show. He did not come as an investor, but he was very intrigued by the idea of Medyseva, and he also got on board. So this was an unprecedented deal in all the 4 seasons of Horses Stable. And along with the money, of course, it's important, but the entire journey, the experience was exhilarating. It was memorable, and it gave us a major breakthrough to go ahead with the business. So that was how the journey of funding was for Medyseva. We are still on that journey, as already been said, it's an 18 months run, so you're already there. But there are a lot of avenues and there are a lot of options still available, which are sector specific for you. I am from the healthcare sector, so I know about those schemes, but maybe something else will be more relevant for you. So just explore, So, but there are some major key takeaways from my journey which I would like to share with you. The first thing is, your pitching is the foundation on which lies your entire funding journey. I cannot emphasize enough how good your idea should be or how good the story should be behind it, but it all comes down to nothing if you cannot sell it, if you cannot convince the investors. So your pitching can be nothing short of perfect. Today, if you feel that you're not satisfied with it, work on it. Get professional help. There is enough and more help available on this, but that has to be something that is non-negotiable. It has to be perfect. Secondly, along with pitching comes your valuation and ask. So valuation is a very thin line between a science and an art, to get it right. If you are a revenue generating company, there are a lot of methods and formulas to get your valuation done. But you can again seek help from third party, there are registered valuers, there are merchant bankers, but get your valuation right. Because a vague number, as we've seen on TV shows, the first question they ask is how much are you offering and how much are you asking for? And that's a vague number. It puts off investors. It puts you in a bad light. It looks like as if you don't know your own business. How much valuation should be. So work on the valuation and ask. Thirdly, how can you get a good valuation if you do not have the projections right? So projections, again, cannot be too overly optimistic. They cannot be pessimistic. They have to be just realistic, Again, it is based on utilization of funds. So I say, I want to raise 1 crore rupees, out of which 30% will go in team building. Now, that's a very vague thing to say, because team building is what? You can be a little bit specific. You can be a bit specific, that I want to hire a CTO. for 2 lakh rupees a month. I need so many operations guys for 15,000 rupees a month salary. If you build that way, if you get your utilization right, you are going to get your projections right, ultimately leading to a good valuation. Again, as from my personal experience, from our experience, I'd say apply for investments, apply for competitions as much as possible. You know, be receptive, be open to your surroundings, the opportunities that are available, and don't let go of them. So you get to meet other people, you get to learn from them, co-founders, you can practice, you can make connections, and of course, you know, there is a big prize money to win at the end. We won a few prizes in these competitions. It's never bad, you know, to win money also. So that is one thing, be open and receptive. There's nothing to lose to go to these events. Next is your negotiations. Don't lose your ground. You know, we tend to settle for less when you are in that boardroom, when you are in that room with the investors. You see that money coming in and you tend to settle for less. But you have to research your investors. What are they getting on board? Accordingly, you can tailor your offer. Is he getting a mentorship also? Is he getting me some contracts? Is that investor already investing in the same sector I'm looking for? Has he invested in competitors? You accordingly mold your offer, but you need to know in advance. You need to plan in advance what you're going to do. Now, till now, everything has been happening verbally, you know, nothing is on paper. So once the deal is done, now begins the process of due diligence. You have to be prepared. You have to get your documentation ready. So for Horse's Stable Ride, we got to know very later on that for their due diligence, they had sent some people over to our centers disguised as patients. We did not know it at that time, but later on, oh God, it was terrifying. And apparently, it must have gone well, which is why we are here today. But due diligence is again something, everything is going to be checked and rechecked and validated. So you should have those things ready with you. Uh, and you know, funding is a journey, it's long. You can't rush it. It does not look as glamorous as Shark Tank because it's not just across the table. It means long meetings. It means several rounds. So you have to be patient, just be there. And a personal tip I'd like to say, as Rajesh already said, I think, avoid leaning too much on family and friends. At least that's from my experience. You know, उनका प्यार और आशीर्वाद ही आपका बहुत है. उससे ज़्यादा आप मत दो, because you don't want that, you keep your startup drama on the stage, not on the dinner table, I'd say. So I think we are running short of time, so that's all from me. Please connect with me on social media, email, whatever. Would really love to know each one of you personally. Thank you so much for being such a lovely audience.